Hello knitters, come and knit with me for a wee minute while we figure out how to read our knitting for moss stitch. Now we know that the knit and the purl are the basic stitches. These are our building blocks of our knitting, and if we stack them up on top of each other we get ribbing, because the knit stitch makes a little V and the purl stitch in between these two gives us a straight line across. And when we stack them on top of each other, we get ribbing, which we see everywhere. Now, if we were to alternate our stitches, so we've got some stretched out ribbing up here. If we alternate our stitches, we can create any kind of texture. This is moss stitch. And then one step further, if we alternate the way we knit our stitches, so we knit them not in the order that they're on the needles, we can get cables. That's for another day, but that's how we get cables. We're going to look at moss stitch. On here we have knit stitches and purl stitches only. We've done it in 3 different ways here. So at the bottom we've done a knit stitch on every stitch on every row. We're going back and forwards on this little swatch. So we get bumps on every row. That's called garter stitch. Then we've knitted a row, and when we've come back again, we've purled it. And that's given us a smooth fabric called stocking stitch. In this section, we've done only knits and purls again, but we've alternated them and we've got some nice texture. So you can see the V's here are repeated every second stitch up here, and you can see 2 on top of each other, 1, 2. And there's the straight line of the purl stitch in between. On the next 2 rows, the V's are in between, so we've alternated. On the first 2 rows here, we've gone knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. On the rows above, we've gone purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Now that's all very well. When you're knitting your moss stitch, it's going to tell you how to do that in the pattern. It'll tell you knit 1, purl 1, and then next row purl 1, knit 1. But what if you put your knitting down and you pick it back up again and you can't remember where you were? So this is where we're going to read our knitting. We're at the start of our row, and we can see the first stitch is always hard to figure out, so we'll ignore that. The second 2 stitches have been knitted because, sorry, the second stitch, not the second 2 stitches. The second stitch here has 2 V's below it. That means that those were knitted. The third stitch has 2 straight lines below it. 1 and 2. That means those stitches were purled. These ones were knitted and these ones were purled. For this moss stitch we're doing 2 rows of each, so we want to make sure that these 2 V's have 2 straight lines stacked on top of them, so this stitch needs to be purled, which means this one would be knit. So we would be knit, purl, knit, purl. Even if you're in the middle of your row, you can't remember which stitch you need to go into next, check below. The stitches below tell you what you've just done on the rows previous. So these 2 were purled, which means the next one, the next time you knit this stitch, you need to knit it. See, knit, knit, purl, purl. And then we'll be knitting this one. And that is how you read your knitting. The V means you knitted it. The straight line means you purled it. If there are 2, then you want to change. Happy knitting!